So let's talk through a small wave of Warhammer 40k releases, some new Marines, a free mini Rhino, and another rather interesting festive grot riding a squig. Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today in this video I thought I'd do a quick roundup of a few minor 40k relevant releases that I thought would be interesting just to talk about en masse, as I don't think that any of them really needed an entire video all by themselves. They're just a few things that I found interesting over the past week or so. The fact that Games Workshop's giving away some free Legions Imperialis Rhinos, a new Thousand Sons Librarian console that's basically just a new Sorcerer miniature that could be interesting to people who collect the faction, the new release for the Jump Assault Marines for Horus Heresy. They potentially could be interesting enough to both Loyalists and Chaos Collectors that want their army to look like a certain style. They're a fair bit cheaper than either Raptors or the Jump Intercessors per model. And Games Workshop has pulled another festive miniature this year, the Black Gobbo riding a squig, adding a bit of nefarious festive cheer, and it's actually got a datasheet that actually looks seriously strong for the points, even though it is just Legends. First up, I thought we'd start with the free Rhinos. This is just Games Workshop promoting their Legion Imperialis release, and it's basically their free miniature of the month offering, the one where you can turn up to a Warhammer store if you have one convenient, and get your hands on one free miniature, usually broken down out of a squad set. Typically they give you one random infantry figure out of a box set that they've opened up. Seems that they're doing the equivalent of that for a Rhino miniature from the box set for the Legions Imperialis launch. So for those who have a Warhammer store, kind of convenient. It could just be a way to get your hands on a miniature Rhino mini, roughly the same size as an infantry miniature for other gaming systems. Apparently they'll be on offer from the 2nd of December, though I guess it's probably worth checking whether or not your local store will be stocking them. I think they can be a little bit variable as to how many they have to hand out, and typically there aren't any caveats for having to buy anything or things like that. Literally you can just turn up to the shop and get your hands on one free miniature. It is just basically Games Workshop investing a bit of plastic in getting people to come to the store. I feel like compared with at least some infantry miniatures that they do for these promotions, this might be of slightly more interest to some people. Obviously not for any sort of practical gaming purposes. If you wanted to play Legions Imperialis, you'd need far more than one Rhino tank, but feels like the sort of mini curio that people might like to just paint up. Quite a cool thing to have sitting on the shelf as a little ornament, I guess. I'll be honest, I'm maybe just a little bit disappointed that it wasn't a mini Lehman Russ. I think that would have been extra cool really, as actually like a mainline battle tank, but the Rhino is still cool. It is an iconic miniature and I guess relevant to quite a lot of factions, Loyalists and Heretics. The collectible coin for the month as well was announced as a Legions Imperialis one. That is the one where you do need to spend above a certain amount in store, and then they're little metal coins that you can put in a collection booklet should you wish to. Next up, let's talk about the squig and his nefarious rider. This miniature is the Grotsmas Gitz miniature. It does seem that while they've already announced the Red Gobbo's miniature, Games Workshop have decided to pull out two different Gretchen or Goblin style miniatures for the festive period this year, as they'd already released that Red Gobbo's surprise one. I did wonder if they were going to be teasing another miniature release, as in one of the first promo videos for the Red Gobbo, it looks like there was something else lurking out there, and they gave us the silhouette of this squig's antlers. I did say in the last video about that one that might be signifying another miniature, though it maybe wasn't entirely clear what they were going to do, but I guess now we know. Again, it's a pretty fun and festive little mini, and it apparently goes on pre-order on Saturday the 2nd of December, £25, $40 or €32.50. This would be one that I'd expect not to stick around too long. Usually these festive ones tend to have a single release and then go away, replaced by new ones each year. As with the Red Gobbo ones, it is a bit of a weird mishmash of different styles, basically a Gretchen or Gloomspite Gitz style miniature, but also obviously heavily mixed with the theme of Christmas, and also Games Workshop merchandise as well. You can see a little Stormcast Eternal miniature on his base, and a little Space Marine miniature falling out of his sack. The squig's mouth is full of presents and things, and it looks like he's got a fair few snotling attendant hangers-on, a couple of them clinging on for dear life to the sack and the side of the squig. One of them seems to have fallen by the wayside on his base doing a snow angel there. It's not going to be to everyone's taste of course, just a little fun painting piece if you did want to paint up something quirky. As well as the miniature, they did provide some Legends datasheet rules for 40k and Age of Sigmar. If you did want to run him as a fun choice in game, he's only 40 points, and actually for that 40 points he kind of looks ridiculously strong. He'd be pretty much an auto-take competitive pick if he happened to be a actual datasheet in the Orc Codex, I think. He moves 10 inches and is basically a fast lone operative with 5 wounds and a 5+ feel no pain, which probably would be enough just to have him get picked anyway due to being good at secondary objectives and things, but he does back that up with a fair bit of actual damage output as well. On the charge, he averages 3 mortal wounds at one enemy unit that he contacts. You roll 6d6, and for each 4+, you inflict a mortal wound on the foe. And he even also gets to do that each time he ends a normal move or a fallback move as well, which means if you made a normal move up close and then also made a charge, that'd probably be 6 mortal wounds in a single turn, which is kind of silly for a 40-point miniature. Otherwise, in combat, he gets a few strength 3 attacks and then a few strength 4, AP 2 and damage 2 ones from the squig. And he even makes Gretchen farm command points a little bit better, going off on a 2+ rather than a 4+. He even seems to have found himself the fly keyword as well. I guess maybe that's to represent his squig bounding over enemy troops. Obviously, as a 40-point model, he isn't going to have the most enormous impact on a game, even if he is ridiculously overpowered for his cost. I guess maybe that's one advantage of Legends datasheets. You don't really expect them to be enormously well balanced, so they can go a little bit mad on the rules and they don't have to feel too bad about it. Certainly though, for competitive orc lists, if he was just 40 points and basically has a good chance of doing 6 mortal wounds in a turn, never mind just being an annoying lone operative and likely even generating you some command points, there's very little not to like about him. Otherwise, here's him side by side with the Red Gobbo's miniature for this year in the centre, and also the Red Gobbo's previous miniature with him riding Bouncer the Squig. That Squig miniature was quite a significantly smaller one though. This one is rather massive with an enormous amount of presence in his gob. Next up, here's a quick look at that Thousand Sons Librarian console miniature. This one was one that Games Workshop revealed for the Horus Heresy not so very long ago. Really quite a cool and nicely styled one, I think. I feel like he could be a very popular option for either an alternative Exalted Sorcerer or maybe regular Sorcerer on foot. Nice to have more alternative sculpts for the faction should you wish to change up the regular Sorcerers that they get. It's quite a nicely balanced miniature, I think, with that 4-bladed staff that he has in his right hand, and is looking suitably pseudo-Egyptian with the scarabee sort of chest plate he's got going on, and a classic Thousand Sons head crest. He also looks rather nice in their Heresy era scheme, which I think is very cool with the red. He is unfortunately a resin miniature, which won't please some people, I'm sure. Basically Forge World style resin when Forge World was a thing. These ones tend to be a little bit more expensive and a bit harder to work with, and his pricing is likely to be around £27.50, $43 or €35 if you're somewhat consistent with the Librarian console. Here's a few more pictures of him. You can see that he's got the option for a head swap there, and you can see a little bit better what he's doing with the amulets and bits in his left hand. I'd certainly go with the one with the cool head crest myself though. You can also see his back robes and things. Overall pretty nice. Kind of shame that he's resin and a bit expensive though. Finally, and sticking with Heresy era Marines, Games Workshop have unveiled the cost for their Legion Assault Squad. Basically a squad of Heresy era jump packs with beaky Corvus armour, jump packs, chainswords and bolt pistols for the most part, though the Sergeant gets some other special weapons. As with Heresy and Space Marine Power Armour in bulk, these ones are £42.50, €55 or $70. Certainly a little bit more than Games Workshop's standard 10-man Space Marine box sets for things on foot, but given that these have got jump packs, they are a better deal compared with say things like Jump Intercessors or Raptors. These guys are $7 per model, the Jump Intercessors are $12 and the Raptors are $9, so at least in theory there is the potential for a little bit of value saving here if you'd like. Kind of depends on how much you like the Heresy era aesthetic and also the Corvus armour as well. Probably won't be right for everyone, but I feel like they could be rather nice for Traitor Legion Raptors, maybe with a bit of conversion. Iron Warriors tend to be very much about big hefty armour without too many spikes and things, maybe the same for Alpha Legion perhaps. And if you're going for a bit more of a Firstborn aesthetic with a Loyalist army, say for example Raven Guard Space Marines, could be an interesting enough alternative option here if you like these style of jump packs. And bear in mind that Games Workshop still sell the 40k pattern of jump packs on their web store as well. You can pick up a set of those and just graft them onto some Assault Intercessors as well. That's another way where you could make some cheaper jump intercessors on the board. In any case, let me know what you make of these releases. Would you be tempted to pick up any of them, and what do you like or dislike? As always, look forward to hearing your thoughts down in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming. I do tend to post new things just about every day. Finally, if you have been enjoying the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and you can find that linked in the video description if you'd like to help support and keep these videos coming. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, then that's linked down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.